Okay, so we are in Romans chapter 12. We're starting at verse 3. We're going to read from verse 3 to verse 8. And so we can get kind of oriented into the chapter, what we want to be discussing here today. Anybody want to read that, or you want to write it out? That's just a couple of verses there, 5 verses.
I can read.
You want to read it?
Yeah. For I say through grace given unto me to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as God has dealt. To every man the measure of faith. For as we have many members in one body, all members have not the same office. So we, being many, are one body in Christ, and every one member one of another. Having the gifts differing according to the grace that is given unto us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy, according to the proportion of faith. Our ministry, let us wait on our ministering, or hath teaching on teaching, or hath exhorted on exhortation. He that giveth, let him do it with simplicity. He that ruleth with diligence. He that show mercy, have cheerfulness. No, with cheerfulness.
Cheerfulness.
Yes, that's a word.
Cheerful of it. All right. Bless God. So Paul, as we discussed in the last 2 verses last week, he said, I beseech you therefore. We talked a little bit about the therefore. This one right here, I think, kind of pulls us back to something else. Because he says, the grace that's given through to me. Right? Through the grace given to me. Through this grace. What grace is God?
I'm sorry, I caught. What was it?
What grace is he talking about?
The grace of God?
Grace of God. Right? What is Romans 8:1?
Oh boy, that's a memory verse.
That's a memory verse.
There is therefore no condemnation to them which are in Jesus Christ, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit.
See, this grace, the same grace that saves us, the same grace that sustains us,
Right.
who gives us this to be able to walk in the Spirit. Why do I think that is so significant? Because he starts talking about things of the Spirit. And this is where he's heading into a little bit, right? About these spiritual gifts and the weight and the importance and things like that, and how they're given, how we're supposed to view one another who have or do not have these gifts. I think the overall thing that we're going to see in this section of right here is what he said before. There's no more Greek, no more right, no more Jew, no more Greek.
Right.
All have been made sin, right? Because the law did it, right? And then Christ came, and now all have been forgiven.
Right.
And so now we're all equal.
Yeah.
We're all equal, including in the church.
Yes.
Okay? Me as a pastor and a teacher, Brother Frisbee, David, as a pastor, he is no more important than Carol is. He's just another servant. I'm just another servant. A lot of times we put people up on the podium as something like, oh, we're striving to be like that person. And, well, that's not what we should do.
You should be a good example for the people around you.
I'm not saying the person up there. I'm talking about us down here looking up at them.
Right.
Okay? Of course, the person up there should be an example. But shouldn't you also? So does that make you equal? Yes.
Yes.
Right? We all have the same responsibility towards God. And it's part of what Paul is talking about. Because therefore, since we live in this grace, since we've all been forgiven, since we're all the same equally, he's getting into this. And that's all I just want to establish. This is talking about equality in the church. Not woke equality, but true equality. Right? How should we be responding towards one another? How should we respond to society? We'll get into a little later. How we respond to our government. All that stuff has everything to do with our position in Christ Jesus. All right. So as before, we're all equal because we're all sinners. Right? That's the primary thing. That's the first part of this Romans talked about. Everybody's guilty. Okay? But we're all sinners that are saved by, Paul says it, by the grace given to me. We're all saved by the same grace that was given to Paul. And that's what he's saying. This same grace that saved me, put me in the position where I'm at, it puts you in the position where you're at. Okay? And this grace, okay, is by Jesus. And it is for Jesus. All this grace is a glorification of Jesus. And that's the way we should be living our lives now. By Jesus, for Jesus. Alright? So, we're all saved. I'm just going to put this back. You can add more to it, but by the same manner. We're all saved by the same manner. Jesus came, He died, we're all saved by faith. Okay? Let me see. So as the faith is given to us that we need for our salvation, okay? And we'll get into that in just a little bit. So this faith, that we're saved by the same manner, and the manner, like I said before, is faith. And the very faith that we need was given to us. Given to us, not used. Given to us by Jesus. Yes. The one who saved us gave us the faith to believe in. Right? That's what the Scripture says that all men have been given the measure. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. The measure of faith that you're given is what was necessary for you to believe on Jesus, and it was given to you by Jesus. And Paul gets into later, and we're fixing to get into it here, and we'll get into, probably maybe not today, but since this is kind of an overview of where we're headed. And Paul starts using this thing, the gifts.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he sets all this up because of this. Because some people are going, oh, well, I can speak in tongues. You can't speak in tongues? Well, you're not saved.
Well,
Right? You've heard that before?
Yes.
Okay? I can touch people and I can heal them. You must not have good enough belief. If you believe hard enough, then God will heal who you're praying for. Right? You've heard that, right? Oh, I prayed for you. God healed you, but you lack faith, so He didn't heal you. Right? Those are all things that we hear. Those are all doctrines that float around all over the internet and all kinds of stuff like that. Not biblical. Okay. So Paul starts to get into these things because he wants to address these deals and how the church is viewing these gifts and using these gifts. And the important foundation is that we're all the same. The gifts don't determine your importance. The gifts don't determine your level of faith. Okay? When I say importance here, I want to make sure we understand this. It's not your importance to God, and it's not your importance to the church. Guess what? If you have a gift of healing and the church needs a gift of healing, the Lord gives that to you and you heal, and then you get too prideful and arrogant. Even if the church needs a healer, what's God going to do? He's going to remove you from that church.
remove it.
Okay? Or He'll take the gift. So those are things we understand. The big things that we see, this is the church killers.
Yep.
Right.
There goes that word. What's the middle letter in that word?
Pride and gossip. Those are church killers.
Yes.
A lot of church are infested with this. And that's why Paul takes such a drastic measure. We're fixing to go through what he's talking about with here, with this. This is where we're headed, the application of it, but this is the base of what he's talking about in these moving chapters, moving forward, is that we've got to have humility. Humility.
Yeah.
We have to walk humbly before God. Because nothing that we have done, see, all this is Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Nothing we've done
It's not
has given
I.
us any of this.
It's not I. Yes.
So that means that's how unimportant we are in the whole creating equation. And we sometimes forget that. Especially once we become subject matter experts, right? So we have to watch that. When we begin to point out things in other people, especially other Christians, that's not right, then we are putting ourselves in judgment. Because we've forgotten this basics. So we have to be careful. Now, are we supposed to point out errors in doctrine and that kind of thing? Yes, we are. We're absolutely commanded to do so. But make sure that's actually what we're doing. Right? You got all that?
Yes.
So keeping those things in mind, we'll move forward. So he says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, we talked about that, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. We talked about that previously. Holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And then we come down to verse 3. For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, and this is person, among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think. Okay? So, don't be so high-minded of yourself.
I call that hoity-toity.
Don't be so high-minded of yourself. Don't be so stuck on yourself, your own importance. If you were, you know what I'm saying, if you're in charge of, say, the books of the church, and you should not be there, then someone else will take care of the books. Right? If you're a teacher at the church, and for some reason the Lord removes you, or if you get ill or pass away, guess what? The Lord will put a teacher in there. If you're a pastor of a church, before you leave, the Lord already knows that church needs a pastor. Okay? That's just how important you are. You're replaceable.
Yep.
It's like any other soldier in any kind of unit, no whatsoever. Even our highest general, as you've seen through the last couple of presidents, when the president gets tired, he goes, you know what? Well, we don't need you anymore.
Exactly.
And they just, what do they do? Hey, here comes a new general up there. Okay? So even with all that, we are by definition expendable, because right, it is God who appoints and God who takes away. If God can appoint kings and princes and stuff and take them back out of power, then he can do the same with us in the church.
Probably a lot easier.
In some cases, if you don't listen, yes.
Yeah.
Go back and read Jeremiah. That'll put the fear of God in you. But actually, I'm not trying to be hard or rude. It's just,
It's
you know,
the way it is.
yeah, we need some, you know, sometimes we get so much pride and arrogance in the church, and we need a good wake up that says, you know what, this is not your church. This is not where, you know what I'm saying? You may have helped to put the boards in the wall, but that's all you did.
When you get to think
And even the boards and the nails were provided by the Lord. So what are you going to do?
That's right.
Your ability to hammer was given to you by the Lord. Okay? We're just supposed to be a useful tool also. And so we got to remember that. So, not to think too highly of yourself. We are warned against conceit.
Yes.
Oops. Conceit. I think that's correct, Bill. Yeah. I before you accept after C. All right, so conceit. So let's take a look at Psalm 3:7.
Psalm 3:7.
Right. Now we're going to be more.
Psalms 3:7.
Go ahead.
Who?
I thought she had it already. You got it?
Oh, me? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I'm just reading away to myself. Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God. For thou hast smitten all my enemies upon my cheekbone. Thou hast broken the teeth of the ungodly.
That's pretty strong stuff, right? The Lord has broken the teeth of the ungodly. But now, that wasn't the verse I actually wanted.
Oh,
But that works anyway, doesn't it? It's amazing, right? So again, that's because I was just talking about the fear of the Lord, right?
Proverbs.
Proverbs 3:7, I'm sorry. I was like, that's not quite what I was looking for. I don't remember that one.
Okay.
Good work.
And that's why teachers are replaceable. No.
Okay, this one makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Carol, read that one.
Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil.
Yes.
You see it? So wisdom in your own eyes actually encourages you to be evil, right? First of all, pride is evil.
Yeah.
And we'll get a little more into that. But, so just the idea of I'm more important, that should already let you know, Christian, that you're walking not in the spirit, but in the flesh. And we're not supposed to walk in the flesh, right? You want to make a hard life out of your Christian life, walk in the flesh.
That's funny you said that. I'm sorry, this is probably off topic, but it reminds me, you said pride is evil, so they call the gay parade thing pride.
Yes, and there's yes, exactly. Okay. Let's do Proverbs 26:12.
Tomorrow.
26:12.
John, you got 26:12?
Proverbs 12.
Proverbs 26:12.
You can turn to Isaiah. Isaiah 5.
I know Isaiah.
Come on. 26:12. Seest thou a man wise in his own concepts? There is more hope of a fool than of him.
Why is there more hope in a fool than there is, or for a fool, than there is for someone who thinks that they're wise?
Because they're thinking of themselves and not.
Because they're full of themselves.
Expand upon that. You're both, yes, expand upon that.
Yeah.
So if they're full of themselves,
You're full of yourself. You're thinking you can do what God can do.
well, let's think about it this way. Have you ever met somebody who knows everything?
Well, they say they know.
Think they know everything.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And do they?
No.
No.
But do they listen to other people who they think do not know everything?
No.
That's the key.
Yes.
So when you become prideful and full of yourself,
You won't.
you stop listening to good advice.
Yeah.
And that's why it's better for a fool to be a fool, because a fool, at least he'll hear what someone else has to say. If he knows that someone else is wiser than he is, he'll at least listen. So that he may not do it because he's a fool, but he'll listen. He has more hope than someone who absolutely refuses to hear the truth. Okay? So we have to watch the pride. That's what it does. You want to stop up your ears? Get full of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. Isaiah 57:15.
Okay. Oh, went too far. 57. 57:15. For thus saith the Lord, the highly and lofty one that inherited eternity, no, that inhabiteth eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place with him that is of the contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble, and to revive the heart of the contrite ones.
Wow. So who does God dwell with?
57:15.
The contrite of spirit. Those the low in spirit. Those who aren't prideful. Those who are filled with humility. Those who understand that they're not God, right? Basically.
Right.
Those people. God dwells with them. Not only that, he says he builds them up. He lifts them up. So if you want to be in the presence of God, what do you need to do?
Be humble.
Humble yourself. Walk humbly before God. And how do you practice walking humbly before God? Well, reading, studying as is going to, because then you have to submit to His will, right?
Right.
But submitting to His will, but how do I physically, like in my day-to-day life, how do I submit to or walk humbly before God?
And prayer.
Prayer, that's a part of it. What about other people?
Oh, how you treat people.
Right, I should walk how before other people? If I'm practicing to be humble, how should I walk before people?
Humbly.
Humbly, there we go. So what I'm saying is, Paul is saying these things for a reason, because he wants them to do what? Act humbly. With one another. We're talking about, right now we're talking between us, right?
Right.
We should be humble towards one another. Right? Not, well, this is my church, that's my seat.
Well, yeah, if you can't walk,
You know, don't touch that.
you can't be humble between your family, your friends, how are you going to be humble when you're out in public?
Well, exactly.
You
You know, the people who see you every day, what are they going to say about you when you're gone?
Exactly. That arrogant bastard. He was so humble.
Okay, so Galatians 6:3.
Definitions.
Back in the shoes.
Yep.
And who's that? Carolster?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. 6:3.
For if anyone thinks himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceives himself.
Again, here's this other thing, right? You fooled yourself. You're a fool and you don't even know it.
Galatians what?
6:3.
Everyone else knows it. Like you said, John. Everyone knows that guy who can't, who knows so much that he won't listen to anyone else, right? Guy's so full of himself. Okay, so we have promises. So that was, I guess what I said, was warnings. Let me see. Oh, this is all part of the promises of humility. That was that was the warnings of conceit. This one's going to be promises of humility. So this is warnings. This is promises. Humility. Which we kind of got one of the promises right with one of the verses. I think the one you read, right? If we walk humbly, or those that are the Lord, and oh, you read it in Isaiah. The Lord inhabits eternity, and He's with those who are contrite of spirit. So we get the presence of the Lord there. Proverbs 16:19. It's fitting that all this is found in Proverbs, huh? All this wisdom
Yeah.
about being stupid.
Yeah.
And who's turning now?
John.
Joel.
Did you say 16?
16,
19. Okay. Come on.
Sixteen.
16, 19.
must be something in 22 you want too. 'Cause it just-
I do have something in 22. You wanna come back to that one? Carol, can you do 16, 19?
Stay in 22.
Stay in 22, John.
Better to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud.
Okay, so that's a promise to us. It's better for you to be with the lowly than you have to divide what you receive with those who are prideful and arrogant. Why? What would you maybe imagination for that? What's so bad about dividing the spoils with other people who are
Because
prideful?
the prideful people aren't going to care or need like we do.
Well, no, it's they're not. They are.
Appreciate it.
Everything is theirs anyway, right?
Oh.
We call it, what's that thing they're doing with that BLM stuff and all that kind of stuff, that woke stuff? You know, they
Marxism.
said white privilege,
Oh,
right? That would be, you know what I'm saying, is the deal, that's actually the principle they get it from, is basically the truth, right? So they take the truth and bend it up.
Right.
But the deal is that people who are, you know, full of this pride and arrogance and stuff, well, that's mine anyway, you know what I'm saying? And so then do you really have what your side of the spoil? Because really it's like, I don't know. If you need to really do all the work, right? So I get your share or part of your share, right? There's a tax on it, okay, whatever it is. Pirates, you know, are bad with pirates. Honor among thieves, no honor among thieves.
no.
All right? But the lowly, you know what the lowly does? Well, it's actually plays out. I didn't realize it. Yesterday, my brother-in-law asked me a question about a part that he needed for his razor. And I have the part, but unfortunately, it goes with the razor I have. So rather than go, yes, instead, I know he's on a fixed income now.
Right.
So I gave him the whole razor and everything.
Oh,
Okay? Now, that's not to toot my horn, but that's exactly what the lowly do because they understand.
yeah.
And so then it becomes what's yours as a lowly person, right? Not only will you have what you have, but you're sharing you know what I'm saying? There's no dividing a profit. It's a sharing
Yeah.
because everyone gives to the need, which is what the first church used to do, right? In Acts.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one was 22:4.
By humbly and fear of
And fear of, I'm holding on, edge of my seat.
these pages.
You know what that means? You need to read a little more.
Now, how
You
can
still
they-
got the, there you go, right there, right? Get your thumb in there.
Come
Get
on.
your thumb in there, there it is. Oh, it was.
You gotta spit on it.
There. The Lord
On the thumb.
are riches and honor and life.
Now let's read the whole verse together now, not together.
Okay? By humbly and
By humility.
And
fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life.
So how do you get honor? If you want honor,
Have some humility.
have some humility.
Now,
The Lord will honor those who are humble before Him.
Exactly.
You want riches? Humble yourself before the Lord. Let that be the important thing to do, not the riches, the humility. Because if you have true, sincere humility, you're not looking for the riches anyway. So the Lord's going to reward those who are seeking Him, basically, right? In order to seek Him, you have to humble yourself before Him. If He's Lord, then you have to be on the knee.
That's right.
All right, so that was 22, so 29, 23. Oh, I didn't put this up there.
Back to Psalms? No.
No, that's Proverbs.
29, what is it? One's
29, 23?
23?
Yep.
29, 23. A man's pride shall bring him low, but honor shall uphold the humble in spirit.
Again, reinforcement there. What lifts up a man?
Being humble.
Huh?
Being humble.
Being humble. That's what gives a man honor. Not going in there and demanding the front seat,
Yes.
right? What are you doing up here? That's my seat. Get back there where you belong.
Or an example we heard I listened to a preacher man station the other day. We heard they took a poll on people wanting to give up their seats for a family on an airplane.
Oh,
They said they would not, absolutely not give up their seat.
yeah.
I said, why wouldn't you give up your seat to the family
Well-
so they could sit together?
If you're in a church where they assign seats, you might be at the wrong church.
Yeah.
They all belong to God. He don't care as long as you're there, where you sit.
Right. Isaiah 57:15.
57:15. It's just a couple of books over to your right.
Isaiah
57,
57.
15. It's your turn, Carl?
I think so. For thus says the high and lofty one who inhabits eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place with him who has a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble and to revive the heart of the contrite ones.
We just read that.
Right? I know, but that's good. That's like hearing that, right?
Oh, okay.
Because this is now, like I already, and I told you before, it's that one we already read in Isaiah,
Yeah.
that promise. What's the promise? What's the promise in this?
That you'll be with the Lord.
That you're in the presence of the Lord.
Yes.
Not only that, the Lord prefers your presence. Right? Okay, Matthew 18:4.
Matthew 18:4.
That's in the New Testament.
No kidding.
First book. I got that one down.
Matthew, Mark.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, John.
Matthew what?
18. See, I make him work.
You are.
That's the whole purpose of the
That's how
covenant.
you learn. Boy.
Right, that's how we
I
learn.
learn.
That's how we learn. You turn to it. 18:4.
That's how I learned my word books on because of his studies.
Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as his little child, the
As
same
his
is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven.
Well,
Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as a little child,
As this
the
little
same is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven.
you see that?
Yes. As a child who doesn't know any better.
Hey, you know what? The Lord doesn't need a great evangelical leader.
No.
No.
He doesn't need this powerful guy from the pulpit. He doesn't need a pope. Right? Someone to rule the nations for him. He does all that himself
He's
already.
proven to do that already himself.
What he needs is you to be obedient. Like a little child. So to be loving, like a little bitty child. To be trusting, like a little bitty child.
Something so
humble.
simple.
For us, that means we have to go back and humble ourselves.
Yes.
Because we've forgotten that.
Every day.
Every day. Take up your cross.
Yeah.
Every day.
Didn't we just hear that yesterday?
All right. So we got promises, and these are kind of redundant, but I'm going to say rewards. Rewards of humility.
Rewards.
A lot of things could overlap, but I tried my best to divide them out a little bit. Because there's all kinds of things God says about humility, so I'm trying to show you a good swath of them. Right? Let's go to Micah. That's in the Old Testament. Might be kind of hard for you to find. It's not one of the books that everyone goes to, and it's only one page long. So if you go too fast, you'll pass it up. You might want to use your directory of contents, or whatever it is, content table. Micah 6:8. I'm sorry, yeah. I was thinking of Micah's more than one page. What other book was I got another smaller book in here somewhere.
Judah. What, Micah's what?
6:8.
6:8. 6:8. Micah 6:8. He that showeth thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly and love mercy and to walk humbly with thy God.
Okay, so this is a commandment from God. First, is that God has already shown you what's required.
Yeah, what is good.
What is good? What's good to God? Read it again. What's good to God?
Oh, he had showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with thy God.
To do justice, love mercy, right, and walk humbly. That's what our life should be consisted of. Justice, mercy, and humility. That should be the character of a Christian. All right, so Luke 14:10. And actually, that Michael should have been in my next category. I wrote it all, but that's fine. So Luke, what is it, 16:10?
I wrote 14:10, I don't know what you...
That one, 14:10, you're right.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to start with there, Luke. 14:10. I guess I should put, okay. Be easier to understand. Luke 14:10. And the other one, the Michael one, should have been the next one of the commands.
So
So the Michael one was a little ahead.
Okay,
So this is
that's
Micah
fine.
Okay.
for commands. That was a command of God to do that.
Oh,
I wrote it in my wrong category. So Luke, who's got the
14:10, yeah. But when you are invited, go and sit down in the lowest place, so that when he who invited you comes, he may say to you, friend, go up higher. Then you will have glory in the presence of those who sit at the table with you.
Wow. So, whenever you go in and you're humble, and then what happens then? What's the reward?
you can be...
Elevated.
You get elevated, you get glorified, right? Much better than you go in there full of arrogance, right? And you go and you just assume something and you sit where the important people sit, and then sometimes they're going to go, excuse me, the seat's reserved.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, can you,
Right.
sir?
It's reserved for our VIPs, sorry.
There was
We have a
somebody
guest,
coming.
we have a guest minister coming, could you?
Yeah,
Right?
you get to make a scene while you're going out.
Exactly. Okay? So the reward is you get elevated by being humble.
Yeah.
1 Peter 5:5.
Peter. First Peter.
Oh, Obadiah was looking at one page.
Obadiah.
Obadiah. That's coming next. Look forward to it.
One more page.
So that's gonna be mine to read, Obadiah?
Huh?
Obadiah's next?
No, no.
Oh,
I was just, remember I said earlier, I said there's one I got in my notes somewhere, there's only one page, it's only one page is the book. It was Obadiah. Go ahead. 1 Peter 5:5.
1 Peter 5:5. Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Ye all of you be subject of one to another,
Oh,
and to be clothed with humility for God.
okay, I did it again. I jumped up my notes. I actually have it in the right place, I just looked at my wrong.
Wrong
So 1 Peter
version.
5:5, so what's the command?
what's the command?
To submit yourself
To one another.
to one another.
Submit ourselves to one another. And who's he talking to?
Me.
He's talking to you, yes.
To
He's
me,
talking,
to you.
he's talking to believers, right?
Right.
You, this is the way you're going to act.
And to be clothed with humility for God.
You're going to submit yourself to one another. You're going to clothe yourself with humility.
Resisteth the pride and giveth grace to the humble.
To the what?
Give grace to the humble.
To the humble.
Humble yourself therefore under the mighty hand of God.
So God gives grace to the humble.
Correct.
Correct. All right, so there's a reward. So it can still work right here, right? God shows and demonstrates His mercy towards the humble. What would be a reason for that?
What would be a reason for God to,
Yeah, why the difference in that?
if you're being ignorant or not?
If you're prideful, do you need
You don't need His.
mercy and forgiveness and grace?
You don't think you need
You don't. Yeah, exactly. You don't. I don't need that.
Oh.
How many people out there have rejected the gospel because of their pride? And they, oh, I don't believe that. I don't need that. Well, you know, me and God, we're like this. We're okay, bud.
Yeah, we're good.
Go tell someone else needs to hear that. All right, that's that pride gets in there, and because they can't humble themselves.
I get tickled at the guy I work for. He's like, I know. Me and God, we tight, we could. Said, I already know where I'm going. Said, I'm bound to go to hell anyway. I said, well, I guess you're on your way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate to say it, and I'll keep praying for you, but you're right. You're on your way to hell.
Right. So that pride does block you. So that's why you cannot receive
Exactly.
grace, because you won't accept it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to need it. You have to need it, which means you have to humble yourself. You have to humiliate. Not really humiliate. You should humiliate yourself, right? But humble yourself.
Yeah, it keeps me in check but everything, it seems like everything he touches turns to money. I said, okay. Well,
So he's in this world, and he's being rewarded by this world.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about that.
Yeah.
Same as what you don't see is everything you touch is turning into rewards also.
Yeah.
All right? So don't worry about all that.
Oh, I ain't worried about it.
Okay, so then, did we do, because I'm still trying to, Luke 14:10?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. And James 4:10.
Are you sure that's the right one?
No, I don't know. We'll find out. I was, I guess, halfway asleep when I wrote these notes. James
James
4:10.
4, 10.
James 4:10. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and He shall lift you up.
All right, there's another.
That's another. That's good. That's correct.
Okay, that one's correct. So who lifts you up?
The Lord.
The Lord.
The Lord. So do you need to lift yourself up?
No.
Nah, you don't need to. The Lord will lift you up, and it will be in His time, and it'll be greater than you could ever imagine. Greater than you could ever lift yourself up to.
Do a much better job I can.
So I don't need to go around telling everybody whatever I am with God, because God will show everyone else how great I am through my humility. Right? Okie dokie. So then, moving on, we did the commands already. And then, so it is better to humble yourself than to be humbled. Proverbs 17:19. I'll just put options, I guess. Oh, comparison. Comparison.
So this is not under rewards? What
No.
is it?
We already did command rewards, and we did.
Oh, we're in comparison.
command. Now we're on what I'm saying, call them comparisons.
John.
Proverbs 17:19.
Proverbs 17:19. We're out of space.
Yeah, a lot of references on this one. I want to make sure we get this. Whenever you're ready.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay. He loveth transgression that loveth strife, and he that exalteth his gate seeketh destruction.
All right, so we're doing a comparison, right?
Yes.
So this thing we see, the difference in here is that someone who's prideful and seeks to increase their gains, they bring their own destruction.
Yes. In the end.
They expose themselves to things they shouldn't, that's not necessary. They go out of their way to seek things, and in seeking things, sometimes you reach too far, right? You can fall off a ladder,
Yeah.
okay? 25, 6 and 7, Carol.
Proverbs
Mm-hmm.
5, 6, and 7. Do not exalt yourself in the presence of the king, and do not stand in the place of the great. For it is better that he say to you, come up here, than you should be put lower in the presence of the prince, whom your eyes have seen.
So you see where we get that deal from Luke? It
Yeah,
comes from the Old Testament. Jesus was quoting the Old Testament.
Yeah.
It's better that the king should tell you to come up here rather than someone go, get this fool out of here. Okay. All right, 25, 27. So same deal, just a different
27.
verse. Same chapter, different verse.
It is not good to eat much honey, for men to search their own glory, it is not glory.
You get that?
It is not good to eat much honey. So for men to search their own glory is not glory.
For you to go out and try to glorify yourself, it's not good. Right? Too much, right? Attention.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, too much seeking, too much over glorification makes everyone else go, okay, we got enough like that. Right? He's a blowhard, or whatever you want to call that, right? Again, I bring it back to the guy. How many of you like to be around the guy who has done everything, knows everything, and doesn't mind correcting you on it all? And yeah, been there, done that. Everything.
Everything.
All right, do you like being in the presence of that?
No.
Is it easy to find out that he's been lying?
Just
Yes.
the way he speaks, you can see.
Exactly. You're like, oh, no matter what, you've got a story that's better than mine. Okay.
Yes.
Right?
Why not?
And then you stop listening because you're like, that fool don't know what he's talking about. No matter what I say, he's going to say he does something better.
Yeah.
And that's what this is talking about. You know, don't go seeking too much fame, too much glory, all this kind of stuff, because this is going to get you in the end. Not only that, how many famous people have people who follow around trying to ruin their lives? How many rich guys got to go around at women trying to just bait them on purpose to sue them? Right? You don't see it all over the news, Carol? All these famous people, actors, football players, stuff like that. They had the one lady, she accused 3 of these rugby players
Yes.
while they're still in college of rape.
Yeah.
Went to court, ruined their lives, got them thrown out, their scholarships gone. 10 years later, she said, I lied.
Yeah.
No,
Didn't care.
Why? Just because they're famous, they had too much glory. And so watch it. It's better to be humble and avoid all that kind of stuff. The jealousies, the rivalries, all that stuff. The thieves. And to be humble before God and to have a peaceful life. That's where. All right, Matthew 23:12. Yes, John, you were back just in time for your turn.
I know. All I do is find it.
First in the New Testament.
Matthew, Mark, there it is. Too much junk in there.
Yeah.
Out. Big one in front of that. Oh,
Yeah.
these are red letter.
Yes.
Pay attention, John.
Well,
23:12.
his page is thick.
Yeah, put it here and go backwards.
Just one page. 23:12. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be
Humbled,
abased,
abased.
and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted.
So if you elevate yourself, God will abase you. That means lower you.
Abased,
Abase.
what is that?
That's what I just said, lower.
Lower you.
Lower you.
You're going to be brought down to the base.
To the base.
Right. Okay, you will be subjected. Okay? But whoever's humble will be exalted. Raised. All right. So where does all this, why is God so hard against pride? Y'all got all this?
Yes, sir.
Why is God so hard against pride? Well, we've covered some reasons in this, right? Mainly because pride will stop you from having a need for God. You won't see that your need for God. You won't be humble. You won't seek mercy. You won't be merciful to others.
No.
Okay, so you can't really do anything. But where's the root of pride?
What's the root of pride?
Where does it come from? What's the ultimate deal? Let's turn to Isaiah. Chapter 14.
Isaiah 14.
Verse 13 and 14.
Okay. Isaiah 14, verses 13 and 14. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend unto heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, and I will be like the Most High. Right. Who is that talking? The devil? Because,
Sound like Satan to me.
yeah, that is not.
Yeah.
So when did he say that? When in biblical history is that talking about?
After they come out, was delivered out of Egypt. And they,
No,
no?
I think it was way earlier.
He was an angel, though, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was an angel.
Okay, so we had
From the beginning.
in the beginning,
Yeah.
He was an angel.
we had creation.
Yes.
And sometime between the end of creation, when God said, it's all very good, and chapter 3,
Yeah.
so somewhere between chapter 2 and chapter 3, this happened. Because the next thing we see is the fall of man,
Yes.
which
And
means
there-
Lucifer had already fallen at that time.
Yeah,
Because he's the one who went in and tried to, and seduced Eve.
That's right. This.
So where does pride originate? You said it, John.
Yeah.
Satan. And for us, well, if you didn't catch it in there,
Yes.
your heart.
Yes. For thou hast
It
said in
is
thine
the
heart.
root broken condition of man.
Yes.
Because it comes from the root broken condition of, I guess you really say, all creation.
Well,
Not broken condition of creation, but the one who caused the break. And now we turn to Obadiah 4. I think 4. Small little book.
Yes.
Nobody pays attention to the poor little fella. But he gives us,
It's after Amos Moses. Right after Amos, John. Amos Moses.
is it right for what?
Amos.
Amos.
Yes. Called him Amos Moses.
Here's Amos.
It's just one page.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna mess me up.
I know, that's why I said it's gonna,
Just one page on it.
that's why I told y'all ahead of time, about 20 minutes, because that way you have time to find it, put your finger there. No.
On this. have
Found it.
There you go.
There you go.
There it is. Obadiah verse 4.
4. That's 5. Though thou exalt thyself as an eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord.
So though you exalt yourself into the heavens, you set your seat among the stars, you think you're a prince and you're a king, you self-elevate yourself so high, and God says, I will bring you down.
Yeah, verse 3 goes with that too. The
Right.
pride of the heart, verse 3 talks about the pride of the heart, so yes.
Obadiah.
Okay? So that's the thing now, Paul. That's why Paul is such a hard deal on this. And he says that you ought not think more highly of yourselves than you ought to think. But to think soberly. Be aware of who you are in Christ, where your standing is. Okay? And be aware of your relationship and how it affects other Christians. Because that's right now what he's talking about. How it affects the rest of the church. Okay? According as God has dealt to every man the measure of faith. That means what we started off with. God gave you what you needed to believe upon Him. Now even your faith is because of how great you are. Got it? And that's what we all need to remember. We are all absolutely equal. No one is more important than the other. Okay? Let's go ahead and close out.